I saw him from a long ways off. I was high and the sidewalk looked like it had diamonds shining in it. When I got close to him, I saw that he was an old man. His hair was silver and it looked like it had diamonds shining in it. He seemed like he'd been waiting for me for a long time. He said hi real soft, like he knew me. He said, "You want to have coffee?" And I said, okay, because, well, what else was there to do? We went into an empty coffee shop. He bought me pie, too. We didn't talk about much of anything. He said I was nice, polite, well-spoken, not like the other girls who ran in the street. When we left that place, we went into Jem's spa. He bought gum and cigarettes. He paid for it with the biggest roll of money that I'd ever seen. It was big, like a big cheeseburger. He asked me if I wanted anything. There was a wall of magazines. There were so many colors. They were rushing in my eyes like a waterfall. It took a long time to pick one out. On the sidewalk, he told me that I reminded him of a movie, and I got really excited. Well, on account of how I always wanted to be in a movie, but nobody ever said I ever reminded them of no movie. Then he told me that the name of the movie was Carmen Baby, and I got really excited. Well, on account of how my middle name is Carmen. So I thought it was a good omen. You know, like a good sign that something good was gonna happen to me, that I was gonna be somebody someday, that I wasn't just gonna stay a nobody always. Then he said, "Let's go see that movie." And I said, okay. Cause, well, what else was there to do? And we started walking, and I started crashing from all that speed I shot. And I wondered why we didn't take a taxi with the big roll of money. After a while, he said, "Look." And there was a big marquee, and it said, Carmen Baby. And then he said, "See?" And there was a big poster, and it said, Carmen Baby. And there was a girl on the poster, and she looked a lot like me, except that she wasn't wearing very many clothes. Actually, she wasn't wearing any clothes. He said, "Let's go in." I said, "No, I don't. I think I could." He said, "I want to introduce you to somebody." And we started walking, and I started crashing, and I was crashing more and more, and I was just putting one foot in front of the other, and he said, "In here." And we entered a building. We went up the stairs. There was a half ripped off sign on the wall. It said, "All tenants will please." At the top of the stairs, he unlocked the door. I stepped in. There was a bed, a bureau, and a chair. I said, "No, no!" And he put a gun to my head, and he said, "If you scream, I'll kill you." And I screamed, and he hit me hard in the side of my head, and I fell on the ground. And when I opened my eyes, his face was going around and around and around, like on a Ferris wheel. He said, "Get up!" And I was crying, and there was snot, and I couldn't see. And I was saying, "Please don't hurt me, please, please." What? My mommy, please. What? Mommy. And he reached out, and he grabbed my dress right here at the throat, and it was like a cartoon. the way that dress came off in his hand, all in one piece. He said, "I'm gonna make this easy on you." And he took off all his clothes. He didn't have any hair on his body, except on his head. He looked like an old child, or like a life-size doll of an old man. He laid down on the bed, on his tummy, with his ass in the air, like he trusted me. He pointed the gun to the foot of the bed, and he said, "Now get down there and lick my asshole." And I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna have to die. I'm gonna have to die. He said, "Do it!" And I couldn't keep my eyes on the two locks on the door and move my feet at the same time. I couldn't keep my eyes on the two locks on the door. And I was scared because I didn't know what I was gonna see or smell, you know, like shit. But when I got to the foot of the bed, he was completely clean. I put my hand on his ass, on the round part, as far away from the asshole as I could. And when I touched him, his asshole started blinking. He said, "Do it!" And I wet my finger, and I thought, this is never gonna work. He's gonna know this is never gonna work. He's gonna know this is never gonna work. And I touched him, and he exploded on the bed. I guess his fantasy was so strong. Then he got up, he left the room, he wrapped the sheet around him and went out the door. I took my sweater and I buttoned it up like a skirt. I put on my coat and I went out the window down the fire escape. I was thinking, he's gonna catch me, he's gonna kill me, he's gonna catch me, he's gonna kill me, he's gonna catch me, he's gonna kill me. On the sidewalk, I saw a bus. I didn't know if it was going uptown or downtown. When I stepped on it, I thought, everybody's gonna know. But nobody even noticed me. When I got downtown, I went down to the shooting gallery where I was living, and I told everybody what happened. Well, not the asshole-licking part. They were interested for a few minutes because I had a black eye. The next day, I was standing on the corner of St. Mark's Place, and I saw him. He was watching me from across the street. I saw him looking at me. I thought, oh my God, he's gonna kill me right in the middle of St. Mark's Place. But I couldn't move my legs. I watched him cross the street. His lips were so tight, I could see his teeth without him opening his mouth. When he got in front of me, he opened his mouth and he said, real soft, "You know, you licked my asshole really good last night. You know, you could make a lot of money doing that. No, I'm serious. There are places in this town where you could make big money doing that. You know, the mafia guys. No, listen, I mean the really big mafia guys. The really big mafia guys, they pay a lot of money to have their assholes licked. You know, there is a big future for you licking assholes in this town."